Gopijana Pallava Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Pallava Girivaradhari Gopijana Pallava Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Gadivrajakacharsasthodara Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Gadivrajakacharsya Asthodara Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananti Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Gidi Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Tato gnir utthitaḥ kuṇḍān. Mūrtimān ati-bhīṣaṇaḥ. Tapta-tāmra-śikhā-śmaśrur. Aṅgārodgāri-locanaḥ. Tato gnir utthitaḥ kuṇḍān. Mūrtimān ati-bhīṣaṇaḥ. Tapta-tāmra-śikhā-śmaśrur. Aṅgārodgāri-locanaḥ. Tato gnir utthitaḥ kuṇḍān. Mūrtimān ati-bhīṣaṇaḥ. Tapta-tāmra-śikhā-śmaśrur. Aṅgārodgāri-locanaḥ.
gnir utthitaḥ kuṇḍān. Mūrtimān ati-bhīṣaṇaḥ. tapta-tāmra-śikhā-śmaśrur.
Then Agni, the fire, utthitaḥ, rose up, kuṇḍān, from the sacrificial altar pit, mūrtimān, assuming a personal form, ati, extremely, bhīṣaṇaḥ, fearsome, tapta, molten, tāmra, like copper, śikha, the tuft of hair on whose head, śmaśrur, and whose beard, hot cinders, udgāri, emitting, locanah, whose eyes, daṁṣṭra, with his teeth, ugra, terrible, bhru, of the eyebrows, kuṭī, of the farrowing, daṇḍa, and with the arch, kaṭhorāsyaḥ, harsh, asya, whose face, his, jivayā, with the tongue, ālihan, licking, sṛkvaṇī, both corners of his mouth, nagno, naked, vidhunvaṁs, shaking, tri-śikhaṁ, his trident, jvalat, ablaze. Thereupon, the fire rose up out of the altar pit, assuming the form of an extremely fearsome, naked person. The fiery creature's beard and tuft of hair were like molten copper, and his eyes emitting blazing hot cinders. His face looked most frightful, with its fangs and terrible arched and furrowed brows. As he licked the corners of his mouth with his tongue, the demon shook his flaming trident. On legs as tall as palm trees, the monster raced toward Dwarka in the company of ghostly spirits, shaking the ground and burning the world in all directions. Seeing the approach of the fiery demon created by the abhichara ritual, the residents of Dwarka were all struck with fear, like animals terrified by a forest fire. Distraught with fear, the people cried out to the Supreme Personality of Godhood, who was then playing dice in the royal court. Save us, O Lord of the three worlds, from this fire burning up the city. When Lord Krishna heard the people's agitation and saw that even his own men were disturbed, that most worthy giver of shelter simply laughed and told them, "Do not fear, I shall protect you." The Almighty Lord, the internal and external witness of all, understood that the monster had been produced by Lord Shiva from the sacrificial fire. To defeat the demon, Krishna dispatched his disc weapon, who was waiting at his side. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that Lord Krishna, playing the part of a king, was absorbed in a gambling match and did not want to be disturbed by such an insignificant matter as the attack of a fiery demon. So he simply dispatched his chakra weapon and ordered him to take the necessary steps. Translation. That Sudarshan, the disc weapon of Lord Mukunda, blazed forth like millions of suns. His effulgence blazed like the fire of universal annihilation, and with his heat he pained the sky, all the directions, heaven and earth, and also the fiery demon. Frustrated by the power of Lord Krishna's weapon, O king, the fiery creature produced by black magic turned his face away and retreated. Created for violence, the demon then returned to Varanasi, where he surrounded the city and burned Sudakshina and his priests to death, even though Sudakshina was his creator. Purport. Srila Prabhupada comments as follows. Having failed to set fire to Dwarka, the fiery demon went back to Varanasi, the kingdom of Kashiraj. As a result of his return, all the priests who had helped instruct the black art of mantras, along with their employer Sudakshina, were burned into ashes by the glaring effulgence of the fiery demon. According to the methods of black art mantras instructed in the Tantra, if the mantra fails to kill the enemy, then because it must kill someone, it kills the original creator. Sudakshina was the originator, and the priests assisted him. Therefore, all of them were burned to ashes. This is the way of the demons. The demons create something to kill God, but by the same weapon, the demons themselves are killed. I was told to read till the end of this chapter. Translation. Lord Vishnu's disc also entered Varanasi in pursuit of the fiery demon and proceeded to burn the city to the ground, including all its assembly halls and residential palaces, with raised porches, its numerous marketplaces, gateways, watchtowers, and warehouses, and treasuries, and all the buildings housing elephants, horses, chariots, and grains. After burning down the entire city of Varanasi, Lord Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra returned to the side of Sri Krishna, whose actions are effortless. Any mortal who recounts this heroic pastime of Lord Uttama slokas, or who simply hears it attentively, will become freed from all sins. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 66th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Pondraka, the False Vasudeva. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jutāpadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavaṁscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sargana Raghunatham Vidham Tam Sajivam Sarvedam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sakana Lalita Sri Vishakambitaṁscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta-tāmra-śikhā-śmaśrur He Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyai Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Krita Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Asyapradesh-satarine. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 66, entitled Pondraka, the False Vasudeva. I'm very grateful and feel very blessed to be among all of you in the Supreme Holy abode of Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Vrindavan Dham. Hare Krishna. We have especially assembled to honor the life, the teaching of Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Yesterday, we honored him at his samadhi. And how much from the very beginning he has been the most stabilizing, inspiring force on Srila Prabhupada's behalf of Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Temple. In his years of devotional service, there was nothing within this entire creation that could impede his enthusiasm to serve his Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. This is a symptom of someone who is from the core of his heart, sincerely taking shelter of Sri Guru and Sri Krishna. And how much we are grateful today to be in the shade of his compassionate, loving, devotional service assembled at Krishna Balaram Temple. In this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, in previous classes you have heard Pondraka is actually a very powerful king. According to the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Jai and Vijay had to fall down into this material existence, they were powerful demons. Pondraka was an associate of Shishupal and these other demons. He was a king, the king of the Kurusha provinces. But due to his power, his success, his wealth, he fell into the egoistic misconception that no one was equal to or greater than him. And his envy of Krishna manifested in such a way that he proclaimed to be Vasudeva, to be God. And how inconceivable the false ego, ahankar, could be, that he directly challenged Vasudeva Krishna in Dwarka, that you are carrying my weapons, my symbols, and you are taking my name, and you are imitating me by wearing my clothes and my ornaments. Unless you surrender them to me, I will come to destroy you. Krishna was living close by. He meant it. And he sent the message to Krishna. So Krishna took his armies, because at that time he was staying with his good friend in Kashi, which is today Varanasi. And Krishna challenged him. Pondraka, with his armies, he came rushing out, convinced that he would conquer Krishna, who was an imitator of him. Krishna severed his head. Before going to the battle, the king of Kashi, who was his very good friend and ally, he told his wives, his queens, and all the other people of Kashi, after we kill Krishna, we will bring his head back here to celebrate. With Sudarshan, Krishna severed the head of Pondraka, and the king of Kashi. And Sudarshan sent the head to the doorway of the palace, his own palace. When they saw it, they were, what is this? It's somewhat unrecognizable. They thought, this must be Krishna's head. Let us celebrate. But when they looked closer, he says, it was Kashi Raja's head. Krishna went back to Dwarka, along with his associates. What we're reading in today's verses, the son of the king of Kashi, Sudakshana, he was so enraged how Maya covers people over. He was not thinking that they actually aggressively challenged Krishna. Yes. Krishna's protecting you from hearing me. He protects his devotees in different ways. He was a great in a sense, he was very enthusiastic, devotee of Lord Shiva. So he performed tapasya, puja, to get benediction of Lord Shiva. Mahadev appeared to him and offered him a benediction. He wanted the benediction to kill Krishna. Lord Shiva, he told him, you perform this particular type of yajna, I think avichara, which is a yajna in the Vedas, which is special for causing violence to people, hurting people. He said, the Dakshinagni yajna you perform, and through the monstrous demon that's created by that fire, you could kill anyone who is not inimical to the Brahmins, or who is. You could kill everyone except, you could kill anyone who is inimical to the Brahmins. Now Krishna is the support of the Brahmins. He's the supreme ever well-wisher of the Brahmins. And of course, when we're speaking of Brahmins at this time, the best of Brahmins is Vaishnavas. So Lord Shiva said this, through this yajna you can kill one who is not offensive to devotees. You can kill anyone who is not offensive. I'm sorry, yes. You cannot kill anyone who is not offensive to devotees. So at the final offering of this puja, we are giving a glimpse into the Leela, this monstrous fiery demon manifest. What shall I do? Sudakshana said, you destroy Dwarka. So with his legs, which are as tall as palm trees, he ran to attack Dwarka. Krishna's just playing dice with some of his friends. The citizens of Dwarka were terrified. This was a monstrous fire coming to attack, ferocious. And they came to Krishna. Krishna calmly tells Sudarshan that you take care of this. Sudarshan comes out, blazing like fire. And when the fiery demon saw Sudarshan, there was not even the slightest question to fight. This particular story is told in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Advaitacharya. I'd like to speak his perspective of what actually happened and the lesson we are to learn from it. It begins, Lord Chaitanya in the mood of a devotee. His love of life is to serve other devotees. But the mood of a devotee is to be the servant of the Lord. The greatest of the devotees was Advaitacharya. It was his worship that brought Krishna down to show compassion to the suffering souls of this world. But whenever Advaita tried to worship Lord Chaitanya would worship Advaita. In the mood of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya would take Advaita's feet, collect the dust and put it on his head. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have learned from the descriptions, he had very long arms. It was very difficult for anyone to protect themselves from Lord Chaitanya taking dust from your feet. Now, the glories of devotional service are described in the most intimate and fascinating ways in these pastimes. In this world, under the conditionings of the false ego, we want to be praised, we want to be served, we want to be honored. But a devotee, avanī-talam, does not have these inclinations to the extent we're actually purified, because we're simply so satisfied glorifying Krishna, honoring Krishna. And Krishna finds great satisfaction when those who love him are honored. So avanī-talam, this is the nature of a pure soul. We find great happiness in giving honor and respect to Krishna and those who Krishna loves. And therefore we do not need to be honored and respected ourselves. So when Lord Chaitanya was taking dust from feet of Advaitacharya and honoring him in front of all the other devotees and everyone, he was feeling very unhappy. I want to be the servant of the Lord, and the Lord is portraying himself as my servant. But what to do? So he made a plan. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially came to this world to teach pure devotional service. And the misconception that one can achieve the absolute truth in any other way except bhakti, and the misconception that through jnana one can become one with the impersonal manifestation of God. Lord Chaitanya came to protect, liberate the world from these misconceptions. If I want to make Lord Chaitanya angry, I will preach this Mayavad philosophy. Now, he was the leader of the entire Brahmin community. He had great influence. So with this plan in mind, he returned to his home in Shantipur, not far from Navadvip. And there he started preaching. From the Yoga Vasishtha, he was giving this interpretation that jnana, knowledge of the impersonal, unmanifested absolute, is the highest goal. Bhakti is something subordinate. That jnana yoga is like the eyes, and bhakti is like the mirror. What is the use of a mirror without eyes? It's only there to facilitate. Bhakti is just to facilitate jnana. Lord Chaitanya understood what Advaita was preaching. He said to Nityananda Prabhu, let us go to Shantipur. So they started walking. And there are beautiful pastimes that took place on the way to Shantipur. But we don't have so much time. They came to one house in a place called Lalitapur. Nityananda Prabhu said, there's a sannyasi living in this house, would you like to go? Lord Chaitanya said, yes, yes. But he was what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes as a Dari sannyasi. He had a wife and house and everything, but he still posed himself as a sannyasi. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time, of course, he's still in Navadvip, so he's very young. And this person is quite older. So when they came to the house, the sannyasi gave a benediction to Lord Chaitanya. He said, I bless you, my son, that you will have wealth and beautiful women and fame and great knowledge, and you will be happy. This was quite shocking to Lord Chaitanya. What kind of benediction is this? If you want to give me a benediction, give me pure devotional service. This Dari sannyasi, he was quite upset. He said, I'm giving you a benediction and you're not happy? How Kali Yuga is progressing. You give someone a benediction, they're not even grateful for it. I've given you a very good benediction. What is wrong with this? You're talking about bhakti, devotion. If you don't have good food, if you don't enjoy, how will you live? And this way they had nice conversation. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, all this wealth and all of these material treasures that you're speaking about, they will all be finished when you die, inevitably. Therefore, the only real wealth, the only treasure, is devotional service, love for Krishna, bhakti. Nityananda Prabhu was watching this. He said to this man, because he was very upset, he said, Lord Chaitanya is very young and you are quite elderly, just, forgive him. Give us some fruit and then we will go. So Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, they bathed in the Ganga and they came back and he brought them some nice fruit. Then this Dari sannyasi said, can I give you Ananda? And he actually gave. Lord Chaitanya asked Nityananda, asked Nityananda Prabhu, what is this Ananda? Lord Nityananda said, it is wine. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted Krishna's names and immediately got up, and along with Nityananda Prabhu, they left the house and jumped in the Ganga. Vrindavan Das Thakur describes how fortunate was that person that Lord Chaitanya came to his house. And even though he said he didn't surrender then, but certainly in a future life, Lord Chaitanya will give him pure devotional service. So they floated in Ganga to Shantipur. And from the Ganga, Advaita Prabhu, he understood Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are coming, and Lord Chaitanya is really angry with me for teaching this impersonal philosophy. So he started preaching even more enthusiastically with a louder voice. Lord Chaitanya is wet from Ganga. Comes right out of the river, right to Advaitacharya's house. And Advaitacharya, even louder and more dynamically, is he preaching this philosophy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eyes were red like coals. He cried out, Advaita, of Gyan and Bhakti, which is superior? Everybody's watching. Haridas Thakur is there. Sita Thakurani, the wife of Advaita, Achyutananda, his son, and so many of his students. Sri Advaitacharya cried out, of the two, Gyan is always superior to Bhakti. Bhakti is supplementary and dependent on Gyan. He was sitting on a high seat like an asana. Lord Chaitanya grabbed him by the hair, pulled him off the Vyasasana, pulled him into the courtyard, and began to beat him. Advaitacharya is like the age of Lord Chaitanya's grandfather practically, and Lord Chaitanya is beating him. And Haridas Thakur was blissfully very afraid what was happening. And Sita Thakurani, the wife of Advaita, she was screaming out, don't beat him, stop. He's just an old Brahmin. He cannot live through this, please stop. And Advaitacharya was manifesting symptoms of joy and ecstasy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Nara, Advaita, I was peacefully sleeping in the ocean of milk. And with your loud cries and pujas, you were calling out for me to descend to this world to teach pure, unalloyed devotional service, prema bhakti. And I came on your call. And now you are covering devotional service with your preaching. And then he manifested his mood of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He said, I killed Kamsa. And among all of the examples he was using, he said that Pondraka. He claimed to be me, and I severed his head with Sudarshan Chakra. And the son of the king of Kashi, with my same Sudarshan Chakra, I burned down his whole city. And he described how he protected Prahlad from Hiranyakashipu and how I lifted Govardhan Hill to protect my devotees. And he went on, explaining how he always protects pure devotional service and those who follow pure devotional service. And now you are covering devotional service. Advaita Acharya was so happy. He said, my Lord, today you have accepted me as your servant. And as he was dancing, tears were falling from his eyes. He was laughing very loudly, dancing and dancing and dancing. And he said, my Lord, why are you not touching my feet today? Today, where is your honor and respect for me? Today you have accepted me as your servant. Therefore you are punishing me. That's the end. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very embarrassed. He came back to his external consciousness in the mood of a devotee and realized what he had done. And Advaita Acharya fell at the feet of Lord Chaitanya crying. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Advaita Acharya crying. And Nityananda Prabhu was crying. Haridas Thakur was crying. Sita Thakurani, Achyutananda, and all the devotees assembled were weeping and crying. The entire house of Advaita was filled with wonderful ecstatic love. Advaita Acharya told this story at that time. How the Lord is merciful to his devotees, and how the Lord is the supreme power of all powers. And ultimately how the Lord is subordinate to love of his devotees. He tells a story that when Sudakshana sent this fiery weapon, actually what Advaita was saying is people worship me. It was the benediction that Shiva gave him that killed him. Advaita Acharya tells that this fiery demon was enormous. He was blazing, his body was on fire. He had 3 hands, 3 heads. He He was carrying a massive firing trident. He roared and attacked Dwarka. But when Krishna nonchalantly sent Sudarshan to deal with him, Sudarshan, who was a devotee of the Lord, was so powerful, so shining and blazing, that this fiery demon fell at the feet of Sudarshan and begged shelter and asked, "What should I do to atone for my offense?" And Sudarshan said, go back to Kashi and use all the powers that Sudakshana has prayed for against him. So he came back, and Sudakshana was annihilated, and all of his associates, the priests who created this. And then, as we have read, Sudarshan Chakra came to liberate Kashi. Kashi is the place of liberation. And Sudarshan liberated Kashi. After Advaitacharya tells this story, and he concludes it by saying that anyone who is against you, my Lord, or who criticizes or offends those who are serving you will be punished. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explained, Advaitacharya, whatever you're saying is true. He said, my holy name is supremely auspicious. My holy name can fulfill the innermost desires. But if one is offensive to my devotees, that holy name will punish them. And Lord Chaitanya concluded, anyone who does not make offenses to my devotees and chants my holy names will achieve loving devotional service to Krishna. Thank you very much. The Prabhupada ki jai.
No question. Questions.